All right, Huber.
Yo!
We're back.
Day 2.
Day 2, GDC impressions. So what's funny is some of these games you might think that, oh, I just like walked up and saw this weird thing and checked it out. Like, no, I made appointments for some of these games.
Nice.
I made an appointment to see Russian subway dogs.
Russian subway dogs. Okay, well, judging by day 1, I'm going to assume that you are a Russian dog going through the subways trying to get people to pet you.
Close. Close. So it is sort of based on this phenomenon where there are actually dogs that like have learned how the subways work and like go on and off of the subways and live their life in the Russian subways.
Whoa, they ride the subways?
Yeah.
So cool.
Get on and off the trains.
Whoa.
So it's inspired by that. But what you do, you play as a dog, and this is like 2D sprite-based game. And your goal is to scare food out of people's hands. And it's very arcadey, and basically you have you're basically locked on a screen in front of train platform. Trains come by, people come off, and you're waiting for the train that you're supposed to get on.
Okay.
But the whole time you have this hunger meter, this huge hunger meter at the bottom that's going down. So you've got to keep eating. And so you kind of sneak up behind people, you bark, and then you grab the food. But it gets really arcadey after that because if you catch the food in the air, you get more points. That's more nutritious.
Tricks.
Yeah, you gotta bark and then grab the food before it hits the ground. And then people walk by with bottles of vodka. You bark, the vodka flies out of their hand, and then it explodes. And then the explosion is fire that you need to use because if you get the food out of the hand and then you light it on fire, then you cook the food.
Oh, yes.
And then you get more points for cooking the food. And then you can actually bark multiple times to juggle the vodka bottles to get them from one side of the platform to the other.
Air combos. Love it.
So we've got all that going on. But then there are different types of NPCs. There are different types of food.
Yeah, are there like security guards, police?
I have not seen police yet.
Okay.
There are babushkas. They're old women with these huge fish. And if you walk up to them from the front, they're going to smack you with that fish. So you got to get them from behind. But the fish are always raw, so you have to always combo them. You also always cook them to actually be able to eat them.
If you eat the raw fish, does your dog get sick?
I think you just can't.
Okay.
You just can't eat it. And then the other thing is that there are also other dogs competing.
Oh my!
So you knock the food out, and the dog might jump and get it. So you've got to use the vodka to kill the other dogs.
Can you be friends with the other dogs? Can you rally them together?
Not that I've seen.
Oh.
They're also sometimes there'll be the guys with like a bag full of rolls. And so when you bark, like a bunch of bread rolls will like fly out, and you gotta try to hit all of them in a string, arc your jump, and then it gets even crazier. There's a level with a bunch of pigeons. The pigeons will also try to eat your food.
Oh no!
But you can also hit them with the vodka and get little like cooked pigeons. And eat the pigeons, but there's also a goal. Sometimes they have additional goals in addition to just like do this that many times or whatever.
I like that.
But there's a goal to avoid pigeon cannibalism, because a cooked pigeon will be picked up by a live pigeon, and they'll try to fly off and take it away from you and eat it.
I love this.
There are also elk that show up in the subways and bears that show up in the subways that you have to fight.
Saving that one, Bloodworth.
And so like you have to hit the vodka bottles onto the bears, and not only kill them, but then you cook them and you eat the bear meat.
Sorry, bear.
Yeah. So it's fun stuff.
But the whole thing is in the subway. You never go up.
Yeah, you never go anywhere else. It's just always like a subway platform with like a different set of enemies and goals and tasks.
Okay. And when do you get on the subway?
That's like the end of the level.
That's the timer goes down. Do you actively have to get on the subway? You
No,
choose
it's
when
like
it
the
ends?
subway rolls up and you get on, and
okay.
good, you survived.
Cool.
You made it through the level.
That sounds so fun. Oh my gosh. How many people are making this one?
I don't know. Yeah, probably not many.
Yeah.
I was playing it at the Xbox booth, so I know it's coming to Xbox.
Okay.
Don't know. Yeah, I don't have a full rundown in front of me of. Yeah, unfortunately, like rapid fire hitting games. Like you don't always get like
Totally.
the base facts, but Russian
Totally.
Subway Dogs, look it up. It's definitely a fun game,
Sounds really fun.
and probably not going to cost that much.
Yeah. Shorter, smaller game.
Yeah.
For sure.
The next one on my list, got to stick to my typecasting. Got to stick to my stereotypes. Got to see a racing game at GDC.
Yeah. Here we go.
So this game
God,
is
what was the last one you told me about with the paint and the colors?
Trailblazers.
God, that sounds so fun.
So what I saw at GDC is Grip. And is inspired by Roll Cage, which I'm not that familiar with, but a lot of people seem to like really like latch onto that. It's like, oh yeah, like a Roll Cage, pseudo sequel, spiritual successor.
Yeah, I never heard of that one. I know what a roll cage is, but
Yeah,
I've never heard
so
of that game.
the basic idea to keep in mind with the cars is that the wheels are like bigger than the chassis, and so you can essentially like flip them over and keep going.
Okay.
Or like you can like jump up and like drive on the ceiling and that kind of thing.
Okay.
And so yeah, I did a few races. There's some weapons in there. So you like shoot off rockets. You've got a shotgun, like a multi-missile thing that takes a while to lock on, but like if you're not careful, like you just miss your whole shot. There's a little machine gun, and there's a shield too that while you shield it, like you can bash into other drivers. A lot of they've got different themes for their tracks. So there's like more deserty tracks or jungle tracks or city tracks.
Any story?
No story that I've seen.
Okay.
The one of the tracks that I saw was a lot more open. So it was like they're not only like different branches, but it just felt like there's a lot of space to go in different directions. And on that one, there is like this fairly typical, but like a derelict like oil ship or something like that. And so like you could either like go under the ship, or you could like use it as a ramp and go on top of the deck and race up there.
Are the weapons on those pickups? Just on
Yeah,
that?
you find pickups, and they also have a battle arena mode, like kind of like Mario Kart. So where you're just like in kind of like a closed
Great.
bowl and like picking up weapons, doing jumps, like trying to like knock out as many other drivers as you can. And then they had what they call parkour, but with cars. And so I think that
Oh, where do they come up with these names? I love it. Say it again.
Carcour.
Parkour, like parkour. Oh my gosh, so clever.
So
Parkour.
I guess the closest thing I could compare this to is Trials.
Okay.
It's like you've got like just like floating track in the air, and you're just trying to like make it to the goal. And like sometimes it's like, okay, well you've got to go here, but then you got to like stop and let yourself fall down and like go back the other way, and kind of like work your way to wherever that goal point is. And there's like one that I did where the road kind of like split into like two tiny bridges that were like spaced just far enough for your wheels to get onto. So it was like you had to like get onto it at just the right spot, or you would just flip off, and then it would like jump up. And there was a lot of jumps and stuff there. So far the racing seems good. Still very much work in progress, though. Like I don't know like how strong the parkour or the battle arena stuff will be, but I definitely like the races and the tracks that they have there.
Cool.
The next thing, I don't think I'll get too deep into this because this is a deep dive. I went to a session for Horizon Zero Dawn and the audio designer, and talking about all the processes that she had to go through to make audio for this game. When coming off of Killzone, there was just much less to worry about. Like now she's got like all of this like nature to worry about. She's got these machines that people are inventing and having
But
to assign sounds to all of these different body parts and things.
I know things cost money to do, but when I got to see Quantum Break,
Yeah.
and I got to go to the sound booth, and the sound effects guy was just like, check all this stuff out, like mind-blowing stuff. And I think about the God of War games having those awesome documentaries. Like, game development is so interesting, and I love that movies, Blu-rays and stuff come with special features.
Mm-hmm.
I wish more games had behind the scenes and making ofs, because all of this stuff is so interesting, and there's not a lot out there. I know you can go dig on YouTube and watch a ton of YouTube videos, but I would love it if just like when games came out they had some behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah,
because this is great.
Well, here's some behind the scenes stuff you wouldn't expect. So working on Killzone, she had to work with a lot of metallic sounds for whatever they're iterating on, and for whatever reason, somewhere in the process, it actually kind of traumatized her in a way. She started tasting metal when she heard metallic sounds. And so she had to outthink that as well as like, I have to like make sounds for these giant metal creatures without driving myself crazy,
Yeah.
So like really trying, having to think outside the box.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. But she was,
much metal.
but she was trying to, she's trying to think of all these different things because you have to think about it in terms of gameplay. But she's also like, we want this to be a believable world. So she's like, okay, well, like turning to videos on YouTube, like with different animals to like figure like, okay, like when do animals communicate? Why do they communicate? What kinds of noises are they making for different things? And then like having to vary those up. With their different, because there's some basic archetypes, like you've got like, horse-like creatures, and then you've got like crab-like creatures and things like that in Horizon, and working all of that out. But then there's also so much else happening. Like you've got the sounds of like their heads moving, and the sounds of like what happens when they get hit, and that destruction, and that particles, and all of these different things. And then every creature just has tons and tons and tons of different animations. And so she had all of this stuff, and then trying to do a lot of that manually by hand is kind of impossible. Because it's like if she like places a trigger for a sound to cue at this specific point in the animation, then somebody changes the animation, then that means she has to go back in and rework that. So what she actually developed was the system that kind of analyzed hundreds of animations that were going on with each creature, and sort of was averaging out like what is like this normal state right now, like what is like it just sitting there resting, and then whenever there would be like a huge shift in the animation, like something would raise its wings or whatever, then the sound would trigger on that shift. So she wasn't having to go back and adjust at a specific animation point. The system would just, if they changed the speed of that animation or whatever, like the system would account for that.
Yeah.
Another thing, because these things are so big, she couldn't just like give it these sounds. She had to have different sounds for head sounds.
Yeah, each part.
She had like, so she showed like there's like these little invisible boxes around everything.
Yeah.
Towards like head sounds come from the head, and there's a box like around the foot. Like foot sounds come from the foot, tail sounds come from the tail.
Yeah.
Wing sounds come from the wing. Like all of this stuff.
So great.
Really, really cool stuff.
Oh, you must have loved that part. Just talking to her. Were you just kidding a candy store or what?
Yeah, well, I wasn't talking to her. I was just sitting in a session, but yeah. And then probably one of the funnier things in the talk was, with gameplay, like, like with the Dark Souls or Bayonetta or any kind of action-based gameplay like that, like you as a player, you need cues. Like you need to be able to tell when an enemy is going to attack. And so the gameplay designers, their basic, the basic language they got across was, can I get a beat for this? And but again, she wanted things to be different and more organic or whatever. So what she actually had was she had one of her coworkers go into the VO booth and like record like an annoying beep sound with his mouth, like beep kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then that was literally like what they took and like warped into all of these different sounds for different types of creatures to be like the tag, like you're about to get attacked.
Oh my gosh.
That was originally just a guy going beep.
That's so funny. That's so good. Wow.
Oh. Yeah, and she also talked about like just trying to find personalities, you know, for like what is this creature's personality. So like this little crab guy is like, this is the grumpy coworker, like that's his personality, and finding sounds that fit that personality. So yeah, and she was talking about, yeah, again, like if you don't know what's like with that, like if you don't know what sound to put in there, just like make something up with your mouth, and then like you either use that or like you use that as a base to like figure out like what to do to make the sound that you want.
Cool.
Also make rules, but then occasionally break them. Like that's how things get done. Let's see what else. Oh yeah. So the next one I'm gonna skip past a couple of things here. Next thing I want to talk about, because it really intrigued me, is a game called Eastshade, and this is again, we're talking about small teams. This is like a team of 3 plus like a character artist, like on the other side of the world, like in Romania, I think they said. And they've been working on it for 4 years. And the guy I was talking to was originally, I forget what he worked on before, but he had done, he'd been in AAA games before, but he decided to want to make something on his own, something that was a little bit different. And kind of the two sort of things to compare it to would be like a point and click adventure in like a 3D world, like a fully realized 3D world, or like if you took Skyrim, and he was saying like so many people that play Skyrim, like the first thing they do is they just avoid the main quest. Mm-hmm. So like what if we made like a Skyrim that just doesn't even have a main quest? So
okay.
Yeah, but there's no like combat as well either. So it's really just like it's like, you know, an adventure game where you're going out and you're finding quests and you're finding items and you're figuring out what to do. But yeah, it's all about like, yeah, exploring and meeting characters and solving puzzles.
What kind of world?
It's definitely a bit more of a fantasy world. Kind of had like maybe kind of like a dressed up kind of like Viking air to it a little bit. The characters, the characters are the one thing that like weirded me out, because they're humanoid, like all the way up to the neck. They look like a person. Yeah. And then they've got like this like really gross like monkey face or like deer face or owl face. So it kind of reminds me of like, yeah, like trying to go back to like fables, like fairy tales, you know, like like we've prettied them up, but like originally they weren't that pretty. Yeah. It's kind of that kind of feel to it. Like this looks kind of dark, but this person's friendly. There's nothing wrong with this person. It was just a strange disconnect in a way, of enjoying like, you know, interacting with people, but then like not wanting to look at them.
Bad faces.
But otherwise, I did enjoy what I played. So the scenario kind of starts off as like you're going to this island, but then like you're shipwrecked and you wake up. Some guy has like rescued you and you're in his cave, and then you go into town and you start meeting townspeople and stuff, and just start figuring out different things. And what your character is they're an artist, they're a painter. And so a lot of the quest lines actually revolve around that. So what you do is you'll find out that, like the one that I did that involved painting, first there was a little kid that was painting, and she's like, "Oh, do you know how to paint? And can you show me?" and stuff like that. And so you go and you pick up materials to make a canvas. So you pick up some boards, you pick up some fabric, and then you make your canvas. And then what you basically do is they just kind of like photo mode. They put like a little frame on the screen, and then you just like move your mouse to be wherever you want the frame of the picture to be, and then it creates the painting as long as you have your canvas crafted. Mm-hmm. And then there was also an innkeeper who, you know, you find out that she likes the eclipse, because there's like this eclipse going on. Like the eclipse happens every day in this world. Yeah. And so like you paint her a picture of the eclipse, and then like she's like, "Oh, cool, whatever." And then like you at some point like you actually go to like the viewing point where people go to like watch the eclipse, and then after that she like lets you stay at the inn for free. She's like, yeah, I know, like you got shipwrecked and everything, and like, you seem cool. I'll let you stay here. And then when you go into your room, she's hung up your painting of the eclipse. It's sitting there in your room.
Whoa.
So that's kind of cool that like these things that you make, they like actually show up
You can see 'em
in
there.
the world.
That's cool.
There's some other funny little quests. One of the first one that I came across, there was a guy. It's like Pooh Bear, basically. Like I walk into the house and this guy's got a jar on his head, and like, what's going on? He's like, can you go get the innkeeper? And I'm like, okay. And I get the innkeeper, and she's like, he did it again. And I'm like, what is happening in this world? And then so you take her over there, and she's like, oh, it's really stuck this time. Can you go to the neighbor's house and like borrow some soap? And then you go, okay, go borrow some soap. And then finally you get the jar off the guy's head.
Yeah.
And then there's another one. The designer said there aren't too many quests like this, but there was another one where like there's a guy in the woods that will like will buy feathers off of you. So like you walk around the woods and you like pick up feathers to bring to him, because there's also a toll bridge. So like again, it's like exploring leads you to find places where like, okay, you can't go past this point. So like figure out how to get some money and stuff. So sell this guy feathers, and then you can get some cash, and then you can go through the toll bridge. They're also just wandering through the woods. There were like these weird little things called like bloom sacks growing that apparently he told me if you collect enough of them, eventually you'll be able to build a raft.
Whoa.
And go somewhere else using the raft. And then
So pretty big world then, it sounds like.
I don't know how big it'll be. What I saw wasn't that big, but you know there was just a lot of different puzzles in there to check out. And then there are some threads that tied together. People were talking about this architect who had gone missing, and I had also found like a little kid that had been talking about there's some like a ghost up in a tower, like at night, like the tower light will come on, he'll like see shadows up in the tower. It's like, oh, okay, that sounds cool. I wonder if I can find that. And they have this system where at night it gets really cold, so you can't stay outside for long. Like after like maybe even 30 seconds to a minute, like you'll just be forced back indoors. But what you can do, eventually you can get like jackets and stuff, which I wasn't able to get any, but you can also buy alcohol and like take a swig of alcohol, keep yourself warm for a longer period of time. And so I always just wanted to see like what it would be like to go outside at night. And like I go outside, I start wandering around, and then I see the tower. I see the light on the tower. And I get out there, and then the guy that found me, the guy in the cave that found me shipwrecked, he's like, what are you doing out here? He's like carrying a box. I'm like, what's up? It's like I heard that somebody's in that tower. It's like, yeah, don't ask any more questions.
Sketch.
Basically, yeah.
So sketch.
But then if you like look through the menus and like you call out who that guy is, and he's like, okay, you figured it out. Maybe since you're an outsider, you can talk to him and like get him to like come out, because he's basically he's got like physical disfigurement.
Yeah.
And he basically feels like kids are afraid of him, like he doesn't want to deal with society anymore. So it's like maybe you can talk him in to like coming out of hiding.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the quest that I did, and that's basically where I ended my demo there. I could have kept going as long as there was nobody else in line, but I had been playing for like 30 or 40 minutes by that point.
Seems like a game that you can just really immerse yourself in. I like that there's no combat, a little less stressful. The stress probably comes from the puzzles.
Yeah.
Sounds,
I mean, it could definitely, it could use some more polish or whatever, but like I said, it's like 4-person team.
Yeah.
It wasn't like weirdly janky or anything.
And the world sounds mysterious,
yeah.
which I like. It's cool.
And then, so last one for the day, the big one for the day. The Banner Saga 3. Went over, got to meet Stoic finally. And it's funny because with this trilogy, I think it's really easy.
I never finished 2, but
Oh, you got it.
I know.
Crap.
It's been on my PS4 forever. But I finished 1.
Nice. You gotta finish 2.
I know.
Because 3 is coming out soon. I don't know if I wrote it down, but it's
Summer, right?
not far off. Yeah, summerish.
Love Banner Saga. So hype.
I gotta see if I can make sure I don't spoil anything for you, but I guess I can just talk in vague terms. But I think the trap that's easy to fall into because the Banner Saga picks up right, you know, each one right where the last one left off, and this one is like literally like they played half of a cutscene at the end of Banner Saga 2, and Banner Saga 3 starts with like the whole cutscene.
Yeah.
And what's going to happen next.
Cool.
So, but I think that like because of that continuity, it's easy to think that like, oh, they're just going to make the same game again, but it's just going to be a new story. It's like I could not keep up with all the new systems he was throwing at me in this game. There's just so much that's changed because of the situation and where you are.
Situations, characters, yeah.
Yeah. So, what you might remember is, you know, the Dredge were being pushed down towards the human settlements and everything.
Yep.
And they were being pushed by like this darkness that was just taking over the land.
I do remember that.
So right now, so at this point, the caravan is split into two caravans. There's one caravan that's holding out at like the last edge of the world.
Sick.
The other caravan, due to some characters that are in Banner Saga 2, are actually pushing forth
on a mission
into the darkness.
Sick.
So they've got like this bubble of light surrounding them, protecting the caravan.
So cool. Oh my god! I want to play Banner Saga 2
you
tonight.
see like inside the darkness, the whole world is like this twisted, jumbled mess, and the people are. I don't know like what you would classify them as. Like, 'cause I wouldn't call them still alive. I wouldn't call them zombies, but like they're just like these melted weird things. And because of the light from your group, they kind of like swarm in on it. So what that means is that in every battle, there's actually turn limits for this caravan. So you have so many turns to kill all the enemies that are on that screen, or another wave will start coming in.
Brutal.
And what's even more interesting about that is that they have, when you complete that, if you do beat all of them before your turns are up, then you have a choice of whether to move on or to stay.
Yeah.
And when you stay, you actually get the opportunity to swap out characters if you have anyone that's feeling fatigued or whatever or anything like that. But then the next wave or waves that come in, those are pretty much guaranteed to have like some form of like mini boss who has a really powerful relic. And you remember how rare relics are in Banner Saga 1 and 2.
Yeah.
And here they're even more rare because the world's gone.
Yeah.
You're not just going to like pull up to a shop and buy some relics. Like the only way to get relics in the darkness is to defeat these mini bosses. So it's this really big risk reward thing, to where it's hard to get through that, but you get a very powerful relic as a result.
Nice.
The other thing,
Still the grid-based battle system.
Still a grid-based battle grid system, but this caravan doesn't have the horn that builds up to like grant you additional willpower. What they have, some Vulcan nail or something like that. I don't know if I can actually read it because again, like I have so many half sentences from like this is okay, got it. But basically, they've got a system where as you get kills, you get charges on this item that allows anyone in your group to do like a chain lightning attack. And so that's one of the ways that like you need to like strategize to get through these waves quickly enough. Is like you need to arrange. You need to like herd your enemies into a formation where you can hit a bunch of them with chain lightning at the right time, and sometimes even use one of your own units, like take a bit of damage
Taking the hit
to like make the chain connect. The other thing is that there is a character. I'm not going to do spoilers. I'm going to try to avoid spoilers for you. But the character leading this caravan, she can confuse enemies, but she also has this really weird mechanic to where she can die.
Whoa.
And take spirit form.
Whoa.
And there are, when she's in spirit forms, then you can see like these like fountains, like these like streams of darkness going up through different points on the map. And if you can, if you get her to one of those points, then she'll gain more willpower and strength. So that's like basically the way you need to use to heal her. And then like, at any given point, then you can choose to go back into your body and come back to life and then attack back on the battlefield. So it's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Kind of crazy.
Yeah. I remember the combat system. A lot of things to think about.
Yeah. There's also like a Scald who, if you kill somebody like next to him, he'll like play an instrument and like everyone will get willpower off of that. And then there are playable dredge now.
Whoa,
that you can recruit, and they said they're not watered down. Like they have the same like strength and willpower and stats.
Big ones were so brutal.
Yeah. So and depending on choices you make in Banner Saga 1 and 2 will determine some of the dredge that will be available to have in your parties. There's also a witch character who has an ability called Ride the Lightning, which basically does like a Nightcrawler style Bamf attack.
Nice.
And it's the most effective if you use it at like the farthest range.
So it does more the farther away it is?
Yeah.
Great.
So that's pretty good. And then, of course, there's the other caravan with the people that you started out with.
For sure.
And they are in the city, and they're trying to hold the fort down.
Yeah.
Basically.
And like internal struggles, I'm sure,
going
on, because there's so much of that.
And so you see like these layers of like
combat.
city walls, and you see the dredge coming in after them, and there's this big dredge that has like some huge like chain with like a mace attached to it or whatever, like smashing through walls. And so you
sure there's like trying to manage food and resources.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
But the city is so big that this is where kind of like part of the traveling mechanic comes in for them. Is it's like they're not traveling across this landscape; they're traveling like from one part of the city to another, trying to manage to like keep things intact, to keep their walls strong.
Right.
And different parts of the perimeter can fall, and they said that you can actually lose the city and be left with just the caravan in the darkness.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal game. Yeah, people can die in this game and they're gone, so love it. I absolutely love Banner
all
Saga.
these different permutations.
So hyped right now.
Yeah, all these different permutations of how the ending can play out based on things you do in this game, plus things that you did in the past two games.
Carries over.
Yeah, it all carries over.
Telltale Games.
And one gameplay thing I should bring up is they brought in because again, like your stats and your leveling up carries over. Mm-hmm. What they're introducing here is at rank 11, they're introducing what they call heroic titles. So basically, this is a really big buff stat boost towards like defense or attack or whatever, but you can only use a heroic title once. So there's a set number of titles, and you have to decide like which title to use which one.
Brutal.
Yeah.
Brutal. Tough choices.
But then that character's a hero, and so like they're gonna like do a lot more effective damage or last longer for you.
Can't wait, Blood.
Yeah.
How was the music?
I didn't really get to hear that much of the music there. They were just talking about like they'd done some recording sessions in Britain, at least. I don't remember exactly where, but it's like a big famous studio in Britain, which unfortunately I'm not as keenly aware of music as some people would like. Because I would remember it, I'm sure. But yeah, and I also got to like briefly see one of the Banner Saga games running on the Switch, because Banner Saga 3 and the first two games are also coming to Switch as well.
Nice, there it is.
And they talked about like, with like the touchscreen interfaces on like mobile, like there wasn't really that much difficulty in like implementing that kind of stuff into the Switch version. So
nice.
if you want, if you go with Switch versions, like you can either use controller or you can use touchscreen.
Yeah.
Either one that you choose.
That's nice.
So, but yeah, it was good just to meet those guys. Because I did that video on the first Banner Saga and the music so long ago, but that was all with Austin and his team making the music, and I hadn't never really talked to the Stoic guys themselves.
Very, very cool. Cannot wait. I gotta catch up.
Yeah.
Gotta finish too.
That's all for day 2, but we're gonna be back with some more impressions.